Hey everybody, welcome to the earliest alert for today. We're going to change the title up a bit because we have a lot going on later in time, so let's get right to it. A lot of cloud cover, although a little hole formed right there in the clouds. For those of you around E-Town to the south, I'm seeing now even some sun being reported in some of the spots there briefly. So a little bonus sun for some of you, but for a lot of us, the clouds are going to hold tough. So let's get right into the setup here. Let me start with the GFS model. The colors you see in the background part of the map here are the temperatures aloft. Once you get into this little shade here of the blues and the gray, that's where you get into the potential for rain and snow to begin to change over there. Otherwise, this on top of the map is the green, of course, being rain, and then the snow and the blue area there. So let's go into this front for Wednesday. It's got showers moving through, although the GFS really fades up front out Thursday. And then chilly air, but nothing too dramatic behind it. But here's the thing. Then we see the front turn around and become a warm front, and we see a warm surge of air. Now, the GFS is fastest here with this whole process. Begins to crank up the wind. And then here we go with the front moving in. This is roughly 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. According to the GFS, showers and thunderstorms passing through. Notice, though, the cold air is behind it on the map here, but it looks like it's not going to be close enough to catch up to it to turn it to a brief period of anything frozen. It looks like it will dry the atmosphere out before that could happen. However, as we get backlash moisture from the upper level, though, that is possible, and you see that hint as we into Saturday, but that may be limited to Cincinnati. But there, typically we do see a wraparound moisture field, and always is a question of how far south can that dig. And it's a sharp cutoff from a cloudy, snow flurry type of deal to completely blue sky. It's definitely half and half kind of a deal, so just a reminder there. All right, then after that, we got cold weather for the weekend. That still hasn't changed. Next week, now the GFS wants to bring in another wave. This will be a clipper, if you will, but it tries to phase it a little more with a southern stream idea, so a little more organized southern low, if you will, on the base of that trough, and therefore we warm up into the 50s, and then this low will then have a chance to dig. Now that's an odd setup, I will say. You don't see that very often when you get a clipper-like system that really digs and gets organized. It's happened, but it's not often you see it. So it's betting on the idea of a more organized system, therefore rain for the travel day Wednesday to Thanksgiving morning, and then it will go to snow Thanksgiving, light snow. Here's the Euro idea. It's got that front Wednesday. Holds it together long enough to get into Wednesday night. It has the warm front idea, but not until this is Friday night. It's just now starting to see the surge of warmth with a warm front and maybe some rain with that as it does push to the north. Otherwise, I think it's a lot slower than what the GFS model has had on how this is going to trend. Here's the actual cold front way up here. So we get the warm front that move through. It's got thunderstorms rolling in as we get into Saturday afternoon instead of overnight, Friday night and early Saturday morning. So big gap here on timing, and that's significant when it comes to severity of these. It too, of course, lags a bit on the cold air wrapping in behind it. It tries to keep most of the upper low part, the backlash part this weekend, more to the north and not really impacting us here in the southern part of the Ohio Valley. We'll see how that plays out when we get closer. After that passes on by, then we see the cold air kind of linger for a while as we head into Monday and Tuesday, and my system is locked up on me. There we go. As we get into Monday and Tuesday, it tries to show, the wave dropping in, but it doesn't bring it to the level of getting phased. It keeps it fairly far north on its travels, so this is more of a wave of moisture to the south. They remain separate for next week, so the overall effect is that this will likely be the more dominant one to allow for a cool but dry forecast for Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving week, a lot of problems on trying to nail down if we'll have anything falling from the sky that's frozen or not. But potential is at least still there, guys. So that's something. Snow lovers, hang in there. Let's back up, though, and talk about the severity part. First off, these mid-level winds. And I think the wind fields are the biggest story out of this system versus the thunderstorms and cold and snow. It's the wind. It's going to be remarkable here. A lot of strong winds will build as we head into Friday afternoon, according to this GFS here, because I think the faster idea is probably a little more likely. Strong wind fields in the overnight period, and that's crucial because we have a lot of wind energy. Question is, are you going to have any instability? And even if you were to gain instability, you got to watch these high-level wind field scenarios like this at night because they have a tendency to push the cloud tops downward. They lean them. And when you have leaning cloud tops, they really can't grow into thunderstorms that can produce any problems for you. So strong winds aloft can be a good thing as long as they're not tapped into and pulled down to the ground, as long as they stay up there. Having said that, the winds here at the ground level are still going to be strong Friday into Saturday. And therefore, certainly wind advisories to be issued, and maybe some high wind watches for the northern parts of the Ohio Valley. Don't see that criteria being met here, but also not far from it. Then as we head into Saturday, the wind will continue, by the way, but from the other direction. So it's a cold wind chill type of day. And when you look at the moisture levels, now here's the thing. If you don't get a lot of heating at night, of course, because It's the overnight. However, you can get instability with moisture advection. When you increase the amount of moisture in the air, you can create instability. And that is showing up on the GFS, not so much Friday afternoon, but so much on Friday night. And when you look at this, it looks like it's surging right ahead of the front. Now remember, at this time, the stronger wind fields are generally right ahead of that, but there is still some overlapping here of the moisture surge. So I could see where I would create some instability, certainly more where the dew points are higher, which would be the Mississippi River Valley. But in general, when you look at that map of how it's drawn, it does look like there would be potential for severe weather, and then that will dry out after that. When you look at instability on Capes, you see a hint of it there along the front Friday evening, and watch what happens. It begins to approach. It's almost lined up right where that moisture advection is ahead of the front. That's where the models are drawing it, and then it fades it out as we get into the overnight. So certainly, if you had to go by that timing right now, the severe potential would be a little higher. Right, this pen does not like me today. But the severe potential would be a little higher riding through here, just west of Louisville, the Mississippi Valley. That right now looks to be more of an issue for potential for maybe some watches or something could come out. When you look at the sounding, this is a cool way to look at this from the GFS. Again, here's the ground level, way up here, be like where the airplanes fly. Green line's moisture, red line is temperature. And notice when you go up just above the ground level, look at the push aloft from these strong winds here. This low level jet kicking in, and it pushes the moisture, and that's that moisture advection I'm talking about. Now, we're still fairly dry at the surface, so we'll just have to see how this plays out, but I'm certainly seeing where that push to add moisture into the atmosphere is happening just above our heads. So again, a lot of questions on the severity. Storm Prediction Center is going to go ahead and put out at least a general slight risk now for a lot of us, and then they'll fine-tune this map when we get closer. And as I mentioned, I think the Mississippi Valley and the Wabash probably has a little more of an issue with that than we do. But either way, it is going to be a windy period. Now, when it comes to the snow side of things, looking at the organic forecasting for November, let's see, here we are coming up for the 13th. Again, this forecast came out in October. It's showing that system, that front that moves in as we head into Wednesday. And it shows the front. It tries to go rain to snow as we head into this weekend. That'll be flurries. Not bad. And then as we head toward Thanksgiving week, it hints at it as well. Maybe some flurries. By the way, looking at December, it features a fairly significant system. Looks to be mostly rain for early December, and then maybe a rain to snow kind of deal. But otherwise, the wintry stuff really kicks in the last 10 days or so of December. And that's why I'm still aiming for a white Christmas this year. That's how I'll have it. So are we going to get to that colder pattern next week? Well, when you look at the oscillations here from the Euro, the NAO, you want this to be negative to allow for that blocking pattern for the cold to stick. And the NAO on the Euro was colder, or more negative, I should say. Now it's trending a little more positive near Thanksgiving, so it may show the cold air trying to retreat. However, the GFS, each and every run, keeps trying to build it more and more as a stronger blocking setup. So a lot of questions on the long-term pattern. The MJO, I don't have time to go into details what the MJO is, but you look at the different phases. What you look at as we head into the end of the week and the beginning of next week, it goes into phases 6 and 7. When you look at the map, phases 6 and 7 is a warm to cold signal. It even goes into phase 8, even colder. So the Euro, or the GFS, excuse me, is leaning toward the matching up the indices that we're seeing on other factors. Even when you look at, oops, I had the wrong graphic there. But when you look at the Euro, it does the same thing. It takes us into phases 6, 7, and then 8, which again is a warm to cold pattern. So there's a lot of agreement here on a cold attack coming our way toward this weekend and for Thanksgiving week. We just got to figure out the wind potential, the severe potential for Friday and Saturday. Then we got to figure out, are we going to see any backlash flurries or snow showers? And we got to figure out that wave around the travel day. Is that going to be a more organized system, or is it going to be a weak little wave and not a big deal? A lot of questions, not enough answers, guys, to be expected in weather, right? We'll see how it looks tomorrow.